Hey guys, Brian from Boas here. It's springtime and the baby boa birthing season is kicking into high gear. I've had a couple females deliver in the last week or so. One was a success, one was not. So today I'm going to share with you both of these experiences. So first of all, I'd like to say that I've been super busy lately. I haven't really had nearly as much time to make these videos as I'd like. It's just a lot of stuff happening all at once. It's great to keep busy. A lot of it is, of course, my snakes, but hope to make more videos in the future and get back to the regular schedule. So spring, of course, is the time when the baby boas start to be born, and I have quite a few expected litters in the not too distant future, so it should be very busy and exciting. But the last week I've had two females which have delivered, and one was a success of a very rare type of boa, which you might have guessed is the Honduran firebelly, which I'm holding now, and you can see I'm holding him with a little bit of trepidation. Last time I took this guy out, he actually bit me on camera. I think the first time I've been bitten on camera, so don't want to get bitten again, but if I get bitten, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, I've had a successful litter of Honduran firebellies, which is great. Since it's been a couple of years since I produced these, and honestly I don't know of anyone else who's breeding these animals right now. I know some of you guys have my babies and hopefully we'll be breeding them in the future, but they're a very rare and hard to find boa in the hobby today, so it's great to have a nice litter of more of these Honduran firebellies. I also had a female that gave birth, and or didn't give birth actually, because it was all slugs and stillborns. I guess that's a birth, just not a live birth. So I'm going to say a little bit more about that. I don't want people to get the impression by watching these videos that it's all fun and games here with nothing bad ever happening. When you breed boas, sometimes it just doesn't work out, and you have to be used to the fact that some of your litters are not going to be successful. I've had this happen before where females have slugged out and given birth to stillborns. I'll probably have it happen in the future. Unfortunately, it's just kind of part of breeding boas, but you just have to be prepared for that. So anyway, first of all, the Honduran firebellies, I'm really psyched to have these guys. This is a rare type of boa. It's supposedly from an island called Roatan in Honduras. Although some people have questioned if this is legitimate or not, I don't know 100%. Anyway, these guys I can vouch for are pure Honduran firebellies, traceable back to the bloodline founded by Dennis Sargent and Tom Crutchfeld. And I'm really happy to have them in my collection. You can see the identifying characteristic. They have this beautiful orange-red salmon colored belly. And there's quite a bit of variability. Not all of them have the super colorful belly like this. Hopefully this guy's not going to take a chomp out of my arm. They do tend to be a little bit less docile than most of my other boas. Some of them are fine, some of them do bite, a little bit nippy, but that's the case with many Central American boas. And the other characteristic, they have this mostly patternless, reduced saddles, although some more than others. And then they have this great shaped head, this really short, stumpy head with this really wide jaw and these beautiful golden orange eyes. So my female gave birth, what was it, about 3 or 4 days ago. It was actually, I was on my way to work and I checked in on the snakes and discovered she had given birth. So I pretty quickly took her out and counted the babies and cleaned her up, and had to go to work, so I didn't have time to make a video. But I want to show you guys the babies today, say a little bit about them, and just really happy to have them. So we'll take a quick look at the babies. I'm going to put this guy back before he draws blood. So here's the litter of Honduran firebelly boas. Keep them in a pretty simple setup, just a 14-gallon sterilite tub, paper towel substrate, and water dish. You can see they're kind of hiding under the paper towels. I think most of them are hiding right now. Let me just move the paper towels. It's a pretty good sized litter, 16 babies, and there were 3 slugs, so that's a pretty good sized litter for a Central American boa. This is a first time mother, born here in 2018. So I'm really happy with this litter. That's about probably about 10 babies right there, and then the others are kind of clumped up over here. And they actually, even at this small stage, they're already a little nippy. I can, you know, when I stick my hand in there, I can feel the little mouths sometimes nipping against me. It's pretty typical for the baby boas to be just piled up in the corner like this. I think it gives them safety in numbers, and if they were in the wild and there was a predator that struck, the predator might grab one of the babies, but then the rest would get away. So it's an adaptive behavior. And you can see there's quite a bit of variability in the patterns, although these guys of course haven't shed yet, so the colors are a little bit dull. They look quite a bit brighter after they shed. But I can see quite a bit of variability. So, you know, some of them have a typical saddle pattern, pretty regularly spaced saddles. Some of them are pretty much patternless, and all combinations between. Here's one that appears to be pretty much patternless other than on the tail. You can see the dorsal surface is no saddles at all, and then he's got the saddles on the tail. And the tail saddle color is kind of a nice deep red maroonish color. Of course, it'll be quite a bit brighter after he sheds. And there's one with a more regular saddle pattern, pretty much regularly spaced saddles. This guy has a few connected saddles, so a little bit jungly looking. Sometimes they have that as well. And then looking at this pile here, we see some are pretty much patternless, some have a few saddles, some have mostly saddles, and some have, you know, the regularly spaced saddles. So all kinds of really cool looking individuals. The parents of this litter, the mother had pretty much regularly spaced saddles, whereas the father was mostly patternless over much of his body with some saddles, which I'll show you him in a sec, but pretty cool to see that we have a lot of different looks in these babies. This one has a really cool look. Look at that striping on the tail. You can see he or she has regular saddles for about 2/3 of the body, and then a few saddles towards the tail, and then that striping on the tail. Really cool look. So the obvious question is, what about the bellies? Well, these guys don't really have the bright belly color for a few years. I mean, they'll look brighter after they shed, but you don't really see that now. The other thing is that there's variability in the belly color. Some of them have a really intense coloration of the belly. Some of them not so intense. I think that guy over there just took a little strike at me. In addition to the variability about the belly color when these guys are adults, there's also variability in the body color. You know, some of them are definitely darker than others. Some of them have kind of a, you know, darkish chocolate tan body, while others are kind of more of a light tannish golden brown body. Like the animal I showed you at the beginning of the video has that lighter body color. But just a really cool project. A lot of variability in these animals, a lot of genetics to work with, you know, and take the project in different directions. But overall, I'm super thrilled with this litter. Just leave you with a close-up of some of these animals. And, you know, once they shed, I'll post some pictures, maybe do another follow-up video. But these guys will also be ready to go to new homes probably in about 2 months or so. And I'll probably keep a few for myself, but we'll have quite a few available. I expect quite a few pairs, so if you've been looking to get into these rare Honduran firebellies, this is your chance to get a really nice pair or trio to start your breeding group. Thought I'd show you guys the father of the litter. This is a male born in 2018, born here. And you can see these guys they're not huge boas. I'd say they're probably in the semi-dwarf category. This guy is maybe 5.5 feet long. And you can see he's got kind of this dark olive tannish brown color with kind of more chocolate saddles, and he's got this long kind of maroon dark deep red tail, and then you can see his distinguishing feature, the so-called fire belly. the salmon pink orange coloration on the sides and the belly. Although, as I mentioned, not all animals from this bloodline have this intensely colored fire belly. There's quite a bit of variability, but they all have kind of a neat, interesting pattern, a lot of variability. So definitely a cool project to work with if you're into Central American boas, or any boa for that matter. And this guy isn't as nippy as some of my others, so I don't have to worry about him drawing blood. But just a really cool animal. You can see he's got saddles on much of his body, but then towards the tail, he's kind of got this striping, this patternless look. And I would imagine these animals have a lot of variability in the genes that control the pattern, which is why we see such variability in the babies. You know, unlike some other types of boas, like for example the cocker key, where all the babies pretty much look like the parents and there's not a lot of variability, these guys definitely have quite a bit of variability. So really stoked about this litter and look forward to watching these babies grow, you know, and get ready to go to their new homes. I've been fortunate to have two really nice litters so far, both from Central American, so far this year, both from Central American island boas, my Pearl Island boa from a few weeks ago, and now my fire belly boa litter. I also had one that didn't end so well, and you know, people watch videos like this and they see pics on Facebook and they get this idea that it's all fun and games and puppies and roses or whatever the bullshit metaphor you want to use. But no, boa breeding is hard, and a lot of times it doesn't work, and 90% of the time people don't share their failures. You know, boa breeders don't like to talk about this. It's uncomfortable, it puts them in a bad light, and it's most people just want to move on and amplify the successes and brush away the failures. But I did have one female who did not deliver successfully. You may have guessed it was a true red tail from Venezuela. This is actually the father, or the, you know, wannabe father, who didn't successfully have a litter. But interestingly, this litter wasn't even on my radar screen because I didn't get a post-ovulation shed from the female. And I was just examining my cages as I usually do, you know, about a week or so ago, a few days before the fire belly litter. And I saw some slugs in there, and you know, I knew she was gravid, but I wasn't expecting her to deliver that early. And unfortunately, it was mostly slugs, you know, 12 or 13 slugs. And there were about, I think, 3 stillborn babies. The stillborns, they looked like they weren't quite fully developed, so they were delivered a little bit early. Not sure, had, you know, she gone on for another couple weeks, maybe she would have delivered those 3. Hard to say. I know we all like to think, well, what could I have done differently? Ultimately, there's a lot of stuff in boa breeding that's outside of your control, and there's really nothing that you can do about it. So you just have to, you know, be prepared for that. You're going to have some failures along with the successes. There's a picture right there of the female and the slugs and the stillborn, so you can see what I discovered. And fortunately, the female was fine. You know, I cleaned her up and, you know, fed her the next day, and now she's recovering. She looks like she didn't even lose all that much weight anyway, so that was good. But these are from the so-called Rio Bravo bloodline of Venezuelans that no one really knows exactly where they came from. I tried breeding these guys last year with my other female. I didn't get anything. This year we have a slug litter. I was successful with my other bloodline of Venezuelan, the so-called Tamatama bloodline, 2 years ago, and had some babies from that particular pair. But you don't see many Venezuelan boas on the market, and you know, this is one of the reasons why these things are not easy to breed, as is the case with many of the more rare boas, and very few people have them, so they're definitely hard to come by. And personally, I'm not convinced there's any actual difference between the Tamatama and the Rio Bravo bloodlines. I know people are obsessed with bloodlines and labels and supposed localities. I think a lot of these things are just marketing, and you know, that's the subject for another video that hopefully I'll get to in the not too distant future. But that's boa breeding. You're going to have some hits and some misses. If, you know, the female is fine and she goes on, even if you don't get any babies, sometimes that's, you know, definitely a good thing you want to focus on, because, you know, females can die as a result of breeding. I've lost females before. Most breeders who are in breeding for any length of time will lose a female or two, and it's unfortunately not something you can prevent in many cases. It's just something you have to accept when breeding boas. So, you know, don't have an overly optimistic idea about boa breeding. Most of us, when we get in, we think it's going to be all, you know, rainbows and sunshine. But a lot of times, it's kind of a shit sandwich, and you take a bite every day. But you have to look at the positives, you know, like my Honduran fire bellies. And hopefully I should have a pretty good litter season ahead. I've got a number of gravid females right now. I expect more litters probably within the next few weeks. So a lot of excitement, and just hoping those litters are going to be successful. But anyway, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for checking out my new baby boas. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, shoot me any questions or comments you might have. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.